My fiancée drained my savings to run away with her secret lover. I didn't scream, I didn't beg. I let her take everything. What I did next made her entire family's name crumble. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Everyone thought Amber saved me. I'd just gotten laid off from a coding job I hated. Ferning out in a gray office with no windows, when she swooped in like some dream girl who loved vintage music and believed in building an empire, she told everyone we were the new power couple. Her mom even called us Amber Travis Inc. Back then I believed her. She was all Pinterest boards and spreadsheets organized gorgeous. She made me feel like I was the lucky one, even when she insisted I move into her guest room, instead of getting our own place, said it would save money for the wedding. We opened a joint savings account together. But all the transfers were from my side. I didn't notice at first. She had excuses, she was switching jobs. Her old bank had issues, some invoices were pending. Can you cover the rent again, babe? Mind paying for the caterer's deposit? I'll Venmo you next week. Weeks turned into months. Then her mom Diane started making jokes like, wow, Travis is really committed, unlike your exes. I'd laugh along. What else could I do? They made me feel like part of something bigger. A legacy. The Daltons weren't just rich, they were social rich old money. Small town appearances. Greg Dalton, her dad, was a pillar in city council. Sterling Knight, the family lawyer, had been with them for decades. They made it clear I should be grateful they accepted me. What I didn't realize was that every step we took toward the wedding wasn't about building a future. It was about building her exit plan, and I was the funding. It started with a typo. We were reviewing wedding details on her laptop. Flowers, venue, guest list. She left to grab her phone, and I scrolled to double-check the file names. There was one folder tucked between Amber invitations and Dalton family photos. It was called Exit Strategy February. I double-clicked before I could stop myself. Inside were Fade's bank statements, transfers, travel bookings, a one-way flight to Vancouver under the name Danielle Foster. That wasn't her name. Not legally. I stared at the screen. Stomach tightening. Was she booking something for a friend? A surprise back letter? Then I noticed something else. Every document in that folder had my name somewhere next to wire transfers, beneath contract lines, even listed as co-signer in a pre-lease agreement for a loft I'd never seen. When she walked back in, I snapped the screen shut like a teenager hiding porn. She didn't notice, just smiled and plopped next to me, hair damp from the shower. I was thinking we should skip real flowers and go for silk. Less waste. You okay? I lied. Said I had a headache. That night I couldn't sleep. I replayed the folder's name in my head again and again. Exit Strategy February. Who plans an exit 4 months before their wedding? But I didn't confront her. Not yet, because something in me, some old wound I couldn't name, needed proof. And because a part of me still wanted it all to be a mistake. 3 days after I found the folder, Amber asked me to drop off a form at the notary. It was part of some loan she said she was helping her dad co-sign, just family stuff. Trust me, she was rushing. Talking fast, late for brunch with Lena and her mom, she handed me the envelope, kissed me on the cheek, and disappeared into her SUV. Something told me to open it. I never do that kind of thing. But my hands were already unsealing the flap before I finished the thought. Inside was a notarization request, nothing too weird except the applicant name wasn't Greg Dalton, it was Travis Monroe, my full legal name, and Amber had already signed her part. It wasn't just a form, it was a power of attorney request. If this had been approved, Amber would have had full access to act on my behalf financially without needing me present. She could have drained everything, bought property, even sold assets in my name, and I'd have no way to stop her. The edges of the paper felt sharp in my fingers. I didn't go to the notary. Instead, I drove straight to the one person I trusted who had no stake in the Dalton family, Lena Foster. We hadn't talked much recently. She used to be Amber's friend, then kind of wasn't. I never knew why. When I showed her the form, she didn't look surprised. She just exhaled and said, "She's doing it again." That stopped me cold. What do you mean again? Lena didn't answer at first. Then she pulled out her phone, tapped around and handed it to me. Scroll up, just read. It was a chat thread between Amber and someone saved only as Alec. It wasn't flirtatious, it was logistical. Screenshots, discussions, money transfers. One message from Amber stood out. "He's still clueless. I'll get the POA signed this week. After that, we ghost." And another, "Danielle Foster is my insurance. That identity's clean. He can't trace me if it goes bad." I felt like the ground beneath me cracked. I waited until after dinner. She was on the couch, glass of white wine in hand, scrolling Pinterest boards titled Rustic Industrial Wedding Inspo. I stood there holding the printout of the power of attorney form, and Lena's screenshots folded inside my back pocket. My voice barely held steady. "Amber, what the hell is this?" She blinked, half laughing. Wedding inspiration." I tossed the POA form on the coffee table. Her face shifted, just a flicker, then full composure. "Oh, that's just something my dad asked me to prep, probably a mix-up with the names. Don't freak out." I didn't say a word, just pulled out Lena's screenshots and dropped them next to the form. Amber didn't touch them, just stared. "You went through my messages?" "No, I sent." Lena did. She thought I deserved to know. She stood up slowly, crossing her arms. "So you're spying on me now? After everything I've done for you?" I stared at her. "You were planning to disappear with my money, and someone named Jay." Amber's laugh was brittle and sharp. You've always been paranoid, Travis, always looking for sabotage when it's just miscommunication. This is not miscommunication. This is premeditated theft. I can't even. She started pacing. You know what? Maybe I did make a mistake trusting you with parts of my plan. But do you know why I even had a backup plan? She spun toward me, eyes burning. Because you're a loser with no job, no prospects, and your big ideas and never go anywhere. I carried us. I kept us afloat. And now you want to play victim because I had a plan B? I flinched, not because the words were new, because they weren't. They were the same words my ex-wife once used. The same words my father muttered before walking out when I was 12, and now Amber was repackaging them. Dressed up in designer resentment, she stepped closer. You were supposed to sign that form. That was your contribution. It was ours. Our future was never yours to take, I said quietly. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You'll regret this. I didn't sleep that night, not because of fear, but because I finally saw her mask crack, and what was underneath wasn't just selfishness. It was cold calculation. She didn't deny the plan, she just twisted it into something she could survive. I knew about the storage unit because I was the one who paid the first deposit. Back in March, Amber said we'd need space for wedding supplies, vintage signage, centerpiece, extra chairs. We went to the facility together, but she handled everything with the manager while I stood in the parking lot. She never gave me a key, never brought it up again, but I remembered the address, and I remembered the one time she forgot to log out of her email when I saw the digital receipt for the last auto payment unit fork. Still active. 2 days after our confrontation, while she was at her baccalaureate weekend with the girls, I went back. It was just before sunset, shadows stretching like long fingers across the asphalt. I brought bolt cutters and gilt. The place was dead quiet. I didn't tell Lena, I didn't tell anyone. Unit fork was in the far row. I stood there for a long minute before snapping the lock. Inside, it wasn't wedding stuff. It was an escape pod, luggage, designer bags already packed, a second laptop, a fireproof safe, and a folder labeled post-split strategy. I started sweating. I opened the folder. It had draft letters written in her voice, emails to family, a breakup message addressed to me, even a fake legal memo from Sterling Knight referencing an irreconcilable divergence in shared financial trust. She was planning to frame me. She'd even signed my name, copied it from an old lease form we filled out together. Then came the real gut punch. Tucked inside was a USB stick. I didn't have my laptop, but I pocketed it fast. I checked the second laptop too. It was password protected. But the sticker on the side read Gen 721J, the same J from the texts. I didn't have long. A janitor passed on a golf cart and gave me a slow look. I ray-locked the unit with a decoy padlock and left. My hands were shaking on the drive back. That night, I plugged in the USB drive at Lena's place. It wasn't just personal files. It had recordings, voice notes, meetings, financial memos. One of them was an audio file, labeled Night Call Revision 2, WAV. When I played it, I heard Amber's voice rehearsing what she'd say to the family lawyer. We'll say he transferred the funds himself. That he was emotionally unstable after the layoff, that I begged him to slow down but he insisted. There it was, the frame job, the cover story. It still wasn't proof she committed a crime, but it was enough to push forward, and it was about to get a lot more dangerous. Sterling Knight had known Amber since she was in diapers. He was the Daltons' legal bulldog, sharp, polite, always 3 moves ahead. He was also the one Amber always paraded as like an uncle, but I remembered how he shook my hand when we first met, 2 fingers. No smile, no warmth. Still, I had to try. I emailed him first, just a line, urgent, about financial activity Amber may have misrepresented. I need legal clarity, he replied within 20 minutes. Come by tomorrow at 9:15 am. No records, no paper trail in my office. That last sentence chilled me, but I went. His office smelled like aged leather and ink. He motioned for me to sit. Didn't offer coffee. I assume you're not recording, he said without looking up. I pulled the USB from my pocket and placed it on the table. I think Amber's preparing to commit financial fraud under my name, I said. I've got draft letters, forged docs, even voice memos. She's setting me up. He didn't flinch. Instead, he opened a drawer, pulled out a manila folder, slid it across to me. Inside, copies of the same documents I'd found in her storage unit, signed affidavits, thank letters, false notary marks, and one new document I hadn't seen yet, a statement of mental instability, dated last week, signed with my forged signature. Sterling finally looked at me. She came to me 4 days ago, told me you were spiraling, that she was afraid. My mouth went dry. She said she wanted to protect herself and you, and I believed her until this. He tapped the USB. So I'll ask once, why bring this to me? I stared him down. Because you're supposed to care about truth, he sighed. I care about liability. And clients who don't lie to me. So what now? Sterling leaned back. Now you leave, and you don't try to take her down through me again. This never happened. I stood, heart pounding. You're protecting her? I'm protecting myself. You should do the same. I walked out of that office feeling the way I had when my startup collapsed 3 years ago, gutted. Invisible? Like the people with power would always win. That night, I texted Lena, he's not on our side. She got to him first. She replied one word, then we go around him. The plan was simple. Transfer what was left of my savings to a new private account before Amber got there first. I hadn't touched the joint fund in weeks, hoping to keep suspicion low. I logged in at 6:12 a.m. sharp. Lena's kitchen smelled like burnt toast and cheap coffee. The screen blinked once, then again. This account has been permanently closed by mutual party authorization. My stomach dropped. I tried again, different route, different browser, same message. She beat me to it. I checked my email. 2 messages from the bank spam filtered, both flagged for joint account disbursement request approved, and legal closure completed with 2-party electronic sign-off. Except I hadn't signed anything. She'd faked my digital signature. I stared at the laptop screen, breathing hard. My chest burned, my hands shook. I called the bank. A sleepy-sounding woman named Felicia tried to help. I gave her every bit of verification I had. And still, I'm sorry, sir, but we show both parties authenticated using unique credentials I'd never used, credentials she must have stolen. She hadn't just drained the account, she'd made it look like I helped her do it. I drove straight to Amber's townhouse. Didn't call, didn't knock. She opened the door in workout clothes, holding a smoothie like nothing had happened. "Oh, you look rough," she said, casually sipping. "Where is it?" I said. She didn't even blink. "Where's what?" "The money, the account, everything." She gave a little shrug. "I figured you'd move it first. I was just efficient." "You committed fraud." "No," she smiled. "We closed the account. Don't you remember? You used your Logan." I stepped forward. "I didn't sign anything." "You'll have a hard time proving that, especially if Sterling is asked." I couldn't believe it. She wanted me to lose it, to yell, to break, so she could say I was unstable, that this was all some post-layoff meltdown. I said nothing. That scared her more than shouting ever could. I turned and walked away. By noon, my phone was suspended. By 2 p.m., a wellness officer showed up at Lena's apartment to check on reports of erratic behavior. By 5 p.m., I was officially locked out of our shared lease agreement. The landlord said a new power of attorney had authorized the removal. She wasn't trying to disappear anymore. She was erasing me. That night, Lena found me sitting on the curb, still holding the fake bank notice in my hand like it might change. "You were right," I said. "She's not just cold, she's professional." Lena sat next to me. "So we play our game better." I looked at her. "I've got nothing left." She paused. "That's not true. You've still got her pattern. That us per voice recordings, she's used this playbook before." That's when it clicked. Amber had mentioned once, drunk, laughing, that she borrowed an identity trick from someone in her past. A cousin, a woman who worked in mortgage automation. I thought it was just a joke. But what if it wasn't? Amber's mistake wasn't her plan, it was her pattern. She reused tools, trusted her own cleverness too much, and she always forgot the boring parts, the back-end systems she thought no one else would ever check. Lena and I stayed up all night combing through the metadata from the USP files. There were fragments, references to logins, and a recurring name, Sakura Port. At first, I thought it was a fake name. But Lena, Hever, the internet bloodhound, found its Sakura Port identity layer a real fraud prevention platform. Mostly used by fintech startups and boutique law firms. Its system time-stamped at every access point and stored client-side metadata for compliance. One of the memos on Amber's USP had been drafted inside a free Sakura Port account. We followed that lead. The account was registered under her old alias Daniela Foster, but when Lena tried to reset the password using that name and email domain, we got an auto-reply. "This account was locked after suspicious activity. Please contact security support to request access." That's when it hit me. If Sakura Port locked it, then it had likely triggered a fraud audit, one that could only be handled by a real person, which meant logs existed somewhere. I sent a request using my full legal name, referencing the forged forms that matched the documents Amber had drafted inside their platform. I didn't expect much, but less than 12 hours later, I got a call, a woman named April from Sakura Port's legal compliance division. "We can't share most customer data," she said cautiously, "but in this case, there are flags on the account in question, repetitive activity from one IP address using multiple identities, including yours." She paused. "And we have verified the e-signature used to close your joint account was falsified using our outdated, unauthorized OPI. The action was time-stamped, traced back to a personal device not associated with you." I could barely breathe. "Would you be willing to send a copy of that log, with a notarized affidavit?" "Yes, it'll go to your lawyer." Sterling Knight wasn't my lawyer, but I still had Lena, and her cousin worked at a litigation startup that loved cases like this. By Friday morning, I had it in my hands, UNC Level 2 proof, full forensic audit log showing Amber forged my digital identity from her own device. Her alias, her signature, her mistake. Sakura Port's affidavit was sealed, verifiable, immutable. This wasn't a screenshot I could be gaslighted out of. This wasn't a conversation that could be denied. This was real, and it was going to ruin her. I didn't send the affidavit to Amber, I sent it to Greg Dalton, her father. I knew exactly what I was doing. He was obsessed with legacy, with image, with not having scandal taint the Dalton name. Especially not before his next campaign bid. If there was anything Amber feared more than jail, it was disappointing Daddy. I attached the notarized proof from Sakura Port, plus an official request to reopen a fraud investigation into the joint account and forged legal filings. Lena helped me file a formal notice through her cousin's law firm. Then we waited. Greg didn't call, Amber did. 4 hours after the email landed in his inbox, my phone lit up with a restricted number. I didn't pick up, then she texted, "Let's talk, please." "No lawyers, just us." I didn't reply. That weekend, the Dalton family accounts went into lockdown. I heard from Lena that Greg's office had a surprise audit, that Sterling Knight quietly recused himself from 3 upcoming cases. Monday morning, I received an email from their new legal counsel, per your submitted evidence. Our client is prepared to settle. Full reimbursement of all disputed funds, acknowledgement of misconduct, and a non-disparagement clause request. They wanted silence. I offered them something better. I waive all civil claims if Amber delivers a full confession under oath filed with county court. Otherwise, I press charges. I expected pushback. Instead, I got a deaf Amber black blouse, messy bun, eyes down, confessing, under penalty of perjury, that she'd falsified documents, forged e-signatures, used a fraudulent platform to close shared accounts, attempted to shift liability to me, and knowingly planned to disappear under a fake identity. Signed, sealed. The news still got out. Maybe not the full version, but enough. Greg withdrew from the city council race to focus on family matters. Amber's accounts were frozen pending investigation. Sterling resigned quietly from the Dalton family office. And me, I moved out of state, started over. Not to hide but to build on my own terms. 6 months later, I was helping my daughter build a school project. She'd just turned 10, smart, curious, a little too much like me, she told me her friend's dad said. All women are gold diggers. She asked me if that was true. I froze, then I told her this: some people take love and twist it into control. But love, the real kind, doesn't ask you to sign things blind, doesn't punish you for having questions, and it never ever leaves you with nothing. She nodded like she understood, then asked if we could get pancakes. That night, I opened the USB drive I'd saved, the one Amber forgot to erase. I didn't play it, I just looked at it. Reminder that survival isn't about getting back what was taken. It's about knowing you'll never let it happen again. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe to check out more stories on my channel.